Hello, everybody. Welcome to End Times Talk and good afternoon. I hope you're all doing well. Today, I want to have a very lengthy conversation about the movie Disclosure Day. I just got done watching it, and no, I didn't give Steven Spielberg a dime. You best know it. But I watched it because I want to know what the symbolism is. And I first off just want to state with the cover image here that you have that left eye symbolism. If you were her, that would be your left eye. Okay. And man, just the symbolism that's all over this thing, the propaganda that's behind it, absolutely insane. And I do have to say that today's show is going to have many spoiler alerts. If you do not plan on caring about, when you watch it, knowing what's coming or not, you can go ahead and watch today's video. But if you're one of those people that doesn't want to know before you see anything, there's probably going to be some stuff I'm going to say here because I don't plan to hold back or anything like that. I have no intentions of holding anything back as I'm talking. So just trying to give people that spoiler alert because I know some people get wound up about that sort of stuff. So I think I'm going to start just kind of as the movie progressed. I took notes to kind of keep myself on track and to remind myself, some of my thoughts as the movie was playing. And boy, do I have lots of notes here. A couple of pages of notes, actually. And first off, the apartment that the main character, this woman that you see here in this image, the main character, I forget her name, but the apartment that her and her boyfriend are living in the beginning of the movie, if you look at the front and hold on, let me see if I can just pull it up here. I have the image, I just have to download it real quick. Um Hold on. Whoops. So there it is. Hold on, I gotta download it here. Where's the download button? Oh, there's no download button. All right, well, I'm just gonna screenshot it then if it's gonna be a pain in the keister like that. Just give me a moment here. I'm sorry. All right, I screenshotted it. All right, image, screenshots. All right, so here's the image from her outside of her apartment complex, and if you notice right away, you have the square and compass logo. Um, right off the bat, it's a little stretched out, horizontally. It's not as square as what it normally would be, but that is absolutely a square and compass right off the bat in the movie. The left eye symbolism is all over in the movie. You know, there's a lot to unpack here. Sorry, a lot on my mind, and I want to be able to relay this properly. But I took this as I was watching it, and I was like, "Man, dude, right, blatantly in your face, you have the Masonic symbolism in the movie Disclosure Day." But so as the morning progresses, okay, for her, it's kind of starts off with the beginning of this woman's day, basically, her part of the story. And um the she's sitting at the breakfast table with her, boyfriend or whatever, husband, whatever, I think boyfriend. And a cardinal flies in the window, and there's a lot of cardinal symbolism all throughout this movie, and I think that that's for a lot of different reasons. Because one, there's definitely this like underlying Catholic alien apologetic like theme, where Catholics are super apologetic towards aliens and demons, because aliens are demons, okay? But and we're going to talk about that today, after we get going with this. I got a lot of information to unpack here. And so I just noticed that about that there's like this Catholic undertone to the movie where Catholics are accepting and yes, you know, they kind of are trying to be these ones that come with this idea that there is something more than the earth out there that God has created. You know, and I have to remind people that God created the stars, the sun, and the moon for us, not us for them. Okay. And I'm telling you right now, whether you want to believe it or not, we are the center of this thing. And this movie makes it seem like God, you know, created, you know, us for the cosmos rather than the cosmos for us. God said that he gave us the sun, the moon, and the stars for days, weeks, times, and seasons. I'm probably botching that a little bit there, but in a nutshell, that's the whole aspect of it. And God has one son named Jesus Christ. He doesn't have an infinite amount of sons. Okay, he has one son named Jesus Christ that came to die for one humanity on one planet. All right. So I'm sorry if Lucifer is the prince of the power of the air and he has access to outer space. All those other people that are created by God would be corrupted by Satan as well. And there would need to be more. You see what I'm saying? There'd need to be more. Jesus came to die for us. But they want to say that, you know, salvation is obtainable for all these different aliens that exist out in the cosmos is the way that they're kind of playing it off. But absolute Catholic apologeticism towards the demonia, the demons, in my opinion. All right. And the cardinal, which if you look at the image on this picture, the shape around her eye is a cardinal. And the cardinal is actually, a lot of people don't know this, but because of the those feathers coming off the back of the cardinal's head, a lot of people see that it looks like a mitre that like a bishop or a cardinal would wear in the Catholic Church. Okay, the Pope wears them too. All right, that's not just the Pope that wears them though. All right, in that the red, all right, and the feathers of this bird reminded the people who first discovered the cardinal of those bishops and whatnot in the Catholic Church. And so hence the cardinal was named after the cardinals of the Catholic Church. And a lot of people don't know that. Okay, but that is, you know, the actual reason why cardinals are cardinals. So there's this Catholic undertone, and I think that you know, you have to remember within the Catholic Church you have the Jesuits. You know what I mean? The Jesuits exist, and you know, so the Catholic Church, you know, has been for a long time rooting for, you know, alien disclosure and all this stuff, and they know damn well what it is. And you got, you know, all these exorcists. There's been 2 exorcists recently. One that came out on the Sean Ryan show, and then another guy that was kind of, I think the word would be excommunicated from the Catholic Church because he said that aliens are demons. And then you have this other guy on the Sean Ryan show that says, you know, when these demons manifest out of people, they look like aliens. But I really feel that is a modern day Jesuit interpretation of this thing because they want to associate aliens and demons together now. And that's a lot of what this movie is doing because they want to do away with the idea that aliens could be demons. So in their own ways, they're trying to say that the demons actually were what was made up and that aliens all along have been around, you know, but misunderstood as demons, right? And you know, and always leave it to Satan to, you know, to pull a reversal, a double whammy on you, and try to spin, you know, what we've been trying as Christians to say for so long, you know, that aliens are demons. And this is a lot of the tactics that I kind of see planted throughout this movie. They don't come out and say it, but it is absolutely there. And so anyways, I'm going to continue on here, and I'm just I used a small notebook, so my notes are a little bit scattered, so I'll be jumping about from topic to topic on this, but so that was something that I noticed, is that the cardinal has symbolism over and over and over again in it. And they, I think that, through the Catholic Church, they're trying to promote the idea that, God created multiple universes and multiple civilizations, multiple earths, if you will. All right. That's a part of how they're coming at this. Um, and they're trying to also make it seem like, we've been calling aliens demons for a long time, but really it's just been aliens. It's kind of the way it kind of comes across, um, to me. Now, um, one thing I will say is in the movie, and you kind of see this in the trailers for the movie. She kind of, this woman has this moment where she's speaking like a gibberish language, um, almost as if she's possessed and speaking something forth that she doesn't know anything about. And this is kind of a common theme in the movie, where like all of a sudden she knows Russian or Korean, or you know what I mean. And so in this moment where she's on TV, and I want to reiterate this here, that she's on TV, she collapses and falls down in the movie. And you know, I knew right there and then that Steven Spielberg was trying to make it seem like that idea that we've seen so much from the Jabby Jabby that took place, where people collapsed, on football fields and soccer fields and basketball courts, and near podiums during speeches, and on the news channels right in the middle of the news, people just dropping over, keeling over. And so I really felt like they're trying to associate that stuff with this a little bit, but also using it as a way to kind of explain it away and normalize it, like, oh, that was just in that movie, that people just dropped dead on the news, the nightly news nowadays, I guess. So this was a common theme that I saw, where people would, uh that's a common theme that I've seen in across the board in news across the world, that was put into this. I think was kind of Spielberg's way of, kind of trying to do a little bit of cover up, sweeping under the rug for the vax. Um, Something I've also noticed is throughout these movies that we've seen that have come out, that are pretty significant movies, I think, when it comes to propaganda, like with what the actual plan is, things like Leave the World Behind. In that movie, you have these deer that show up. You have these deer that show up. And even in, like, Harry Potter, that white stag or whatever. A deer is a stag is a deer, per se. Um, and in this movie, um, there's more deer, and the symbolism of the deer is there once again. And a lot of people don't know that Nimrod down the line can be considered a stag god. Okay, so I think there's this huge occult, esoteric undertone to the movie. Of course, they got to pay homage to the demons and the occult and all the stuff that they're involved in, and the things that they worship. Uh, Paying homage in their movies to their gods that they worship, but it's just a common theme I've noticed lately in movies like Leave the World Behind, which, people kind of look at that like, that's a very plausible movie, very strange. This is very strange like that. It has kind of the same similar feeling, so to speak. Um, but, what I really want to talk about, and here's a big chunk of this. Hold on, let me get a drink. Is I completely believe 110% that Steven Spielberg, and excuse my language, but Steven Spielberg is using this movie to cover his own ass, and I want to expose it right now. And let me tell you how. The main character that you see here, this woman, she had childhood trauma, and in the movie you find out it was at the age of 10. And the way the movie kind of plays out, they want her to face some of her past trauma, and she's just melting down from it. Like, no, 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 I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to, no, 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 no. And then you find out, that she was visited by aliens at the age of 10 and that they were doing experiments on her. And, there's also another gentleman in the movie that is kind of her co-star that also had experiments done on him as a child. And when you actually watch the experiment being done, the experiment focuses on the left eye of the child, the left eye of the child. And I'll be honest with you, the fear that was portrayed by these children, even though they were acting in this movie, it really disgusted me, because what I know about what these mongrels and horrible, evil people really do to children, because I investigate these kind of people and expose them in documentaries that I make, I really kind of like knew what they were really trying to portray, that like that fear in these people, these monsters who hurt kids. They really feed off of that fear, and for many different reasons, not just adrenochrome, but the energy that, anyways. So, but you could tell that this girl at 10 years old, had been through a lot. And then as she's older and they're asking her to revisit her trauma, she starts displaying, characteristics of someone who's kind of, becoming self-aware of their mind control programming. And this usually happens for the most part later on in life for most victims. They kind, a lot of numbers I hear are like, around 23 years old and like 40 years old. Like, there's certain periods in a person's life where that might trigger memories of their programming that they weren't previously aware of, and find out more about themselves than what they thought that they knew. And so she starts displaying these mind control characteristics, and she has these multiple, well, I would say abilities, but they're like, it's kind of demonic, if through the lens as a Christian, speaking as a Christian, looking at this movie, it's pretty demonic. And she knows multiple languages, and she just, knows what people are thinking, and she knows their thoughts and their history, and just like knows all this stuff, really trying to portray her as like a psychic medium. Okay. um and she dreams about the trauma that it comes out in the movie that her boyfriend is saying she dreams about this traumatic experience when she was 10 years old, being taken out of her room to being taken to this house in the middle of the woods and experiments done on her. And it sounds like some Hansel and Gretel or some like Snow White sort of stuff, because when these entities come to take her, they're in the shape of animals. One's a fox, one's a deer, one's a cardinal, one's a raccoon, and then once they get the children are following the animals off into the woods, and then all of a sudden you get to this house, and the deer comes up and starts looking at her in her eyes, and then you see the camera shift, and all of a sudden it's a gray alien. And it's said in the movie that the gray aliens take the shape of animals, so that way they're a little more pleasing to the eye of the people that they're trying to experiment on and abduct. I mean, they're normalizing this and okaying it, the taking of children and experimentation on children, and they're making it seem like, I don't care if these things have a good message. That's creepy, bro. Why would you come to people while they're sleeping? Come up, knock on the door, have a cup of tea if you want to talk. But dude, don't come taking my kids out of their bedroom in the middle of the night. Like, what is that about? And they're just trying to like they want to mask over that, like, hey, that stuff's, it happens, but there's a reason for it, right? There's no reason for that. It's malevolent. It's fear-based. It's dark. It's evil. It's satanic. It's demonic. And so, you could tell that this girl, if you know anything about MK Ultra, if you know anything about Project Monarch or any of the stuff that these poor children and people that have been through, the damage that it's done to their psyche and how they behave and operate afterwards, and trying to come through their trauma and heal from it. All right. There's all these like little ticks and things that they struggle with. And it's sad, and it breaks my heart to see. And this girl is trying to like sing herself to sleep because she knows these aliens are gonna come, and it's pretty bad. Like it's weird, to say at minimum. It's, I mean, evil and weird. Anyways, so something else I noticed is that as she's going through all this stuff that's happening to her, all of a sudden, now that she saw that cardinal show up in her window, all of a sudden these abilities have been unlocked. All right. And she ends up collapsing at work at the news station on live TV. And there you go. And then, they take her to the hospital. And her boyfriend is wearing a shirt with Satan on the front of it. I want to make that clear. You have your Freemasonic symbolism that's in the movie already. I've shown you. And then there's a, demonic t shirt that he's wearing. And I got a picture of it right here. I got to get to it. Hold on one second. I'm going to have to screenshot this here. And then I'll show this to you. So in the movie, hold on, let me pull it up here real quick. They're coming out of the hospital and trying to get into the car, and the boyfriend that she has is literally wearing a shirt with the devil on it. Devil horns and all. And they could choose any kind of wardrobe for this dude. He could have had a flannel shirt on. And they chose to put Satan on the front of his shirt. So Freemasonry and Satan and the all-seeing eye symbolism, the left eye symbolism. I mean, come on. Come on. They're paying homage to their belief system in this movie. And they're showing you the origins of aliens subversively, because they have to tell you the truth in a nutshell, right? They have to tell you what they're going to do to you. And so there's a lot to go through here. I have a lot of notes. So hold on one second. I got to kind of pick through them here. And again, this movie really paves a path for Catholic alien acceptance. It's something that I've noticed is that it paves a path for Catholic alien acceptance. And that's, I don't know if any of you have ever read the book by Thomas Horn and Chris Putnam, Exo Vaticana, but that's what that whole movie is about, is how the Catholic Church is searching for aliens and exoplanets outside outer space. And they have a telescope. I think it's on Mount Graham or something like that. And the Jesuits run it. And they got like a telescope literally called Lucifer. And that they're looking for these things, these anomalies and whatnot. And even the UN has an alien ambassador. Yeah, look it up. The UN has an alien ambassador. It's some female from like India or something like that. But yeah, they got an alien ambassador now. They've had her for a while. But, they're getting ready for this disclosure. And I have something big to share at the end of this. I really do. But, they really are trying to play this off like the aliens put us here. And they really have, dedicate a couple of segments of this movie. And I'm talking probably close to 5 or 10 minutes that they dedicate to this movie where they're trying to attack Christianity by speaking in mysteries and speaking in a way that brings about questions that are actually really hindered to find on the internet. Like if you go to Google and you type in any of these sort of questions, you're not going to get some Christian response, so to speak. You're not going to get the truth, so to speak. They're going to sell you a lie right off the bat. And so they designed this movie to kind of put questions into people's minds that they'll then go kind of search out and find Google's answer to. And that's something that I've noticed. And they basically saying in this movie that people are going to see these aliens as deities, and they literally have like this Catholic woman, and but the rest of the world's going to see her as a Christian. All right. They don't really come out and say she's Catholic, but she's Catholic because she talks to a nun for some advice. She's Catholic, and she's got like a rosary, like she's got a crucifix. You know what I mean? And she literally says, but people will see them as deities and they will stop believing in God. That's a quote from the movie. And then she says they can't say with certainty that God is divine now. You know what I mean? Because she, knows that there's aliens now. And she's literally saying that people are going to see them as deities and stop believing in God, and that they can't say with certainty that God is divine. That's bullcrap, man. That's bullcrap. God did not create the stars, the sun, and the moon for us. Or God created the stars, the sun, and the moon for us is what I'm meaning to say, not us for them. And I said it before, Jesus there's only one begotten Son of God. And he came to die on earth. He didn't die on any other planet, He didn't die out in outer space and then come here to save us. He died here for us, for all of humankind, God's creation. He didn't even come to die for the fallen angels. He didn't come to die for demons. He didn't come to die for the Nephilim. He came to die for mankind and mankind alone. He did not come to die for animals. He didn't come to die for birds. He didn't come to die for any mammals. He didn't come to die for fish. Jesus came to die for mankind and mankind alone. There is only one God. He has only one Son, all right, and his name is Jesus Christ. And that proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that God did not create multiple civilizations all across the cosmos. It didn't. But they try to raise that question in this. And in this movie, this man is trying to literally use astral projection to manifest himself and possess people. Like literally controlling people's thoughts. It's absolutely mind control, absolutely programming people to do your bidding, to do your will, to even commit acts of violence. But it's almost like a possession, a demonic possession that's taking place. Again, they're trying to merge demons and aliens together now. They actually want that now, because then they're going to flip. I guarantee you they're going to do a switcheroo, and they're going to say that the aliens were here all along, and that the Bible's wrong, and that the Bible called them demons, and blah blah blah, or not demons, but you see what I'm saying? They're going to try to play it off like that the Bible's wrong, and that these things have always been around trying to help mankind, and that mankind's misunderstood it and persecuted the aliens. You see what I'm saying? That's what they're trying to sell to people. That we've just had tyrannical Christians running all world governments, but on this channel, we know they are satanic. We know, all right? We know that they're satanic. We know they eat children. We know they molest children. We know they rape children. We know that they kidnap children. We know that they program children. We know they abuse children on all levels and consume all manner of human flesh, blood, feces, urine, all of it. All right. These people are wicked, disgusting, and evil that run the government. All right. I don't care what they claim to be. You shall know them by their fruits, not by their words, is what the Bible tells me. So they want to paint, these evil people that have been persecuting the aliens as Christians, right? And that finally the truth is coming out. No, that's not the way that this has been. That's not the way that this has gone. Aliens made agreements with humans that are satanic in power to be able to be hidden and be subversive until a chosen time to emerge. And this is part of the agenda of their emergence on how they're going to bring it about. And in this movie, I'm telling you what, they got it figured out, man. It's good. It's damn good. I'll give it to them. It's real good. In those who are weak-minded will be programmed for the real revelation of aliens are the true overlords and deities of this planet and gods. You see what I'm saying? That's what they're going to play this as. That's what they're going to play this as. And so something I noticed in the part where there was a woman kind of dealing with this man trying to possess her, astral projecting, which is a cult, right, into her. He's like a remote viewer. He uses this demonic alien technology to remote view and kind of, astral projects himself supposedly to where these people are at, and he's trying to possess this girl, and she's holding onto her crucifix, the cross, and it seems that while she's holding it, she's fighting it. But as soon as she accidentally drops the cross and it lands, interestingly, in a puddle of blood, all right, in the movie, immediately she gets taken over. It was like they are giving you a truth that Jesus stops this stuff. And I'm not saying the Catholic Jesus, because I don't believe in the Catholic Jesus. I believe in the Jesus of the Bible, all right? And only the Jesus of the Bible. No other doctrines, no other side stuff, not serving two masters. Jesus and Jesus alone. Yeah, obviously God the Father and the Holy Spirit, but Jesus is the avenue in which we, can gain access to all that. So my point is, though, is that the cross seemed to slow down possession that was taking place in the movie. But as soon as she dropped that cross, she was taken over. And then throughout the movie, they want to make Christians look evil and especially gullible. They want to make Christians look gullible. I might not be educated, so to speak, and, be great at grammar, spelling, or anything like that. But I can tell you right now, I'm not stupid. And I have discernment, and I know what's what. But they want to paint Christians out like we're idiots, and that, we just don't understand that these were aliens the whole entire time. All right. They don't, anyways, I'm digressing here, but so anyways, kind of back to how, she was being programmed in, as a child. I know people that have been, have dealt with being abused as children by high up people that have evil agendas, we'll say. And some of the programming, and I'm telling you the truth, man, as God is my witness, man, I know God knows exactly what I'm talking about here, but I pray, in the mighty name of Jesus, God will open your understanding if you don't understand what I'm about to say. But these people who are abusing children and who use drugs and all sorts of stuff to program these children, all right, and the demonic, okay, they try to layer in the demonic, but they also will try to make it seem like aliens are abducting these kids. And that's something that's a common theme that they want to play out like the alien agenda is an alien agenda, but it's actually a conspiracy of men. All right, it's a conspiracy of men, and a lot of people who are survivors that have been programmed, and I know one of them are programmed to believe they're being abducted by aliens when they're being abducted by their abusers. Okay, and they're programmed to see this other stuff and believe that it's this when really it's something else. And I believe that there's this deeper agenda, like this alien and demonic layer in the MK Ultra stuff, in but a lot of people who have been victims of mind control programming from the US government and other governments of the world have said, they thought that they were getting abducted by aliens. And this is something that I believe is, very blatant in this movie, them projecting that idea. And when you watch this, you can really feel the, the trauma of the girl that's playing this. I mean, she did a good job acting, but like my point is that, if you knew what really went on, right? If you knew how bad it got, if you don't already know, to know what these kids go through, and then just to kind of see a movie like this and them just kind of make a mockery out of everything, and make it out like it's something completely different than these pieces of crap satanic death cults that are hurting children. It's so blatant, and Steven Spielberg is covering his ass because he's one of them. Isaac Kappy exposed Steven Spielberg. There are other people that expose Steven Spielberg, even other celebrities that have spoken out about him. All right. He always has kids in his movies, and this one was no different. And it was no different, man. In this movie, he had it kind of, like these kids were going through something traumatic together. And you can really feel the mind control programming aspect of this thing in this movie. It's there. And once you watch it, I mean, if you do watch it, you're going to be like, I see what Josh is talking about. It's definitely there. And later on, because there's two main characters, a man and a woman, the male character, is running from these government spooks or whatever. And, he is at a farm and he goes for a walk, and in a field, a crop circle appears around him. A crop circle appears around him, and oh my, that's how crop circles are made. Aliens? Wow, I didn't know that. But people who actually have done their research and looked into UFOs and crop circles and all that stuff, most people can tell you that the only thing that's really been photographed around crop circles is orbs, like balls of light, glowing balls of light, orbs. And I was a paranormal investigator for 5 years of my life. You could call it necromancy, call it what you will. The truth is the truth. But here's the thing. Gave my life to Jesus solidly after this time frame that I spent being a paranormal investigator. And I saw many orbs, took pictures of many orbs. All right. And I'm telling you right now, it's interesting if orbs are aliens creating crop circles, how they're interested in haunted houses or, old medieval castles or prisons where, places where innocent blood is spilled, where murders happen, all this stuff. Places where, graveyards even, you go to a graveyard, more than likely you'll probably take a picture of an orb or something. Maybe it's a bug, maybe it's a dust particle, but there are real pictures of real orbs that are photographed not only in these places, but also in the sky. And I've heard of stories of people like John Todd talking about witches that are in fields summoning these demons to come and do things in the sky, and then laughing about it and thinking, ha ha ha, I can't believe all these people think that they're aliens when they're actually demons. All right. And so these orbs are supposed to, these beings of light, are supposed to be aliens, right? Well, then why are they interested in graveyards? Why are they interested in those evil places, or places like sanatoriums and things like that, or prisons and places where people die horrifically, where tortures have happened? Why are aliens interested in that stuff? Okay, why? And if you don't think that orbs are the ones making the crop circles, well, then check this out.
Countryside, rational explanations aren't quite so easy to come by. Oliver's Castle, Wiltshire, 1989.
There's a couple of lights down there somewhere.
This controversial film appears to show strange objects hovering above a cornfield. Below, complex circle formations appear. Retired electrical engineer Colin Andrews.
So that is a clip from the 80s, man, that a dude took of orbs creating crop circles. And what's funny is, in the movie Disclosure Day, the crop circle that forms around this man standing in a field forms exactly like you just saw in that video. Just kind of all starts laying down. All right, because the people in power know, they know that this stuff is demonic. They know it's demonic, and they're trying to sell it to you a different way. Of course they want to sell it to you a different way. They want to try to make you believe that these things have been aliens all along trying to help mankind, and that the Christian tyrants are holding you down. And, it's just crazy to me, the lengths that they'll go to. But orbs aren't aliens. They are demons. All right. And so even in the movie, there's what you would, in the movie, they're kind of making it out like it's alien, but there's even like demonic possession through the alien technology. They got this, like, we'll call it a fire stick, right, or whatever, or a remote control, right? So they got this alien tech they're holding on to, and possession is happening. This guy is using this inanimate object to manipulate and possess people, getting demonically, what looks like, just them possessing each other. But really, they're trying to get rid of the idea of demonic possession. And they're trying to, with people, especially weak-minded people who are not educated whatsoever, they want them to really think about this movie, that the aliens are demons all along, and that demons are aliens all along. That's the way it's always been. And I couldn't drop that idea that that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're not coming out and saying it, but they're promoting that, because I can tell you right now, the way this movie ends, it's not the only movie that they're going to have. They're going to turn this into a trilogy, man, or maybe more. I'm telling you, like, the way it ends, there is going to be another one. I promise you that. They're probably already making it, or maybe it's, I don't know. I plan on looking into it, but my point is that, the idea of possession is a frequented thing throughout this movie. I believe, in a nutshell, what they're trying to do is to destroy the aliens are demons narrative by trying to merge them. And I think that that's why the Catholic Church, and again, you got the cardinal symbolism, and that's why the bird, the cardinal, was what was named after, was that they looked like the bishops of the Catholic Church, so they named it a cardinal, right? So, but they're trying to destroy the aliens or demons narrative as best as they can, and that's why they have these exorcists supposedly speaking out saying, oh yeah, when demons manifest, they look like aliens. I can see it coming, man. I see it coming. I can see the writing on the wall that is how they're going to sell it to people. They're going to try to sympathize with these things and portray them as persecuted and all this stuff. And then, there's also been talk in the conspiracy theory community, and I can't even remember where, but that they have two races of aliens, like these Aryan, Norse-looking, blonde-haired, blue-eyed aliens that are pleasing to the eyes. I guess the Bible can say that, Lucifer masks himself as an angel of light if he wants. All right, and so these beings kind of give off that vibe to me. And then you got these gray aliens. You also have these people that talk about insectoids and reptilians and all that stuff, you know what I mean? But really, there's like these two main ones, the grays, that are these evil beings kidnapping everybody and probing them and all this evil stuff and abusing people. But then you have these other ones that are like, oh, we're here to enlighten you guys, and peace and love, and love, peace, and chicken grease, man. That's the way they kind of sell it. And that I think that the Antichrist will work with these other ones, and we got rid of the bad aliens, and it'll just confirm the New World Order even more. They really will. So I think that they're using this movie to really try to work towards destroying, and you got to watch the whole thing and watch what's happening throughout it and really put it together to see how they're trying to use that the aliens are, trying to use this to destroy the aliens or demons narrative. Okay. One thing I will also say that I find very, very interesting about this movie, give me a second, I'm getting a drink here, is that there is a chaotic situation unfolding in the world. Okay. In this movie, they're in Kansas City, Missouri, believe it or not. I have a friend that even lives there. In Kansas City, Missouri is where this film supposedly takes place. And in America, there's like complete chaos. Everybody's at the gas station getting gas. Everybody's, grabbing water while they can. Everything's getting taken off the shelves when it shows them in society, because and I'm going to get to it in a little bit, kind of what's going on. But there is chaos that's happening globally as this movie's unfolding. There's other things in the news that are like the big deal, right? And I think that this is an avenue in which they kind of try to, like, everybody, like, all right, let's lay off, let's call a truce or a peace treaty, and this is where that peace begins to be ushered in. I think when Disclosure Day happens, it's going to be real close to when the Antichrist emerges. I think the Antichrist is working closely with these entities, and I think these entities are working very closely with the Antichrist. All right, and Disclosure Day reminds me a lot of what Benjamin Creme talked about, where there's this day that the Antichrist will be revealed. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it all is going to kind of, I'm telling you, I think it's all going to kind of merge together when that time comes. And so, they're saying that the chaos that's happening in the movie, and they talk about it in the news at the beginning of the movie. If you listen to the news and what they're talking about on the news in the movie, is they're saying that it's like a Cuban Missile Crisis style situation. And that's what's said on the news in the movie in the beginning. And I'm just putting this out there, if you can match that with the missiles that are on the Economist cover that we've shown a lot on this channel, the Economist cover where you got the FIFA soccer ball getting kicked, and then it's got the missiles behind the 250-year cake, I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, it made me think of that, so maybe there's a missile crisis coming of some kind, where, it seemed like what was happening is that a foreign enemy was pointing missiles at America, getting ready to launch. It is kind of what was kind of looked like was being portrayed in this movie. And I'll tell you, man, Steven Spielberg's part of their club, bar none. Like, I'll be honest with you, he's up there too. Like, he is up there. Like, he is a part of this thing. And this is absolutely some of the biggest predictive programming I've seen in a long time, at least a year or two. But probably, like, when you have to sort through all the big, like, even Leave the World Behind that we got, I think last year, the year before that or something, like, it doesn't even compare to the amount of propaganda that's in this. But it's kind of along those lines. Like, we haven't had one since then, but this is bigger than all of those. They really promoted this movie all over the place heavily because they want to get this doctrine that they're trying to push that's in this movie into people's minds. And that's especially why I wanted to go live today and talk about it, because I feel like if you have any form of education whatsoever in, like, the alien agenda and, like, exposing it and all that stuff, like, you need to do your part in, watching this and combating the lies that are in this thing. Because, movies, whether Christians want to believe it or not, are very powerful tools that the enemy uses to deceive, program, and indoctrinate, the people of the world, especially, again, those who are weak-minded or who are weak spiritually. Okay. So, something I noticed about this woman is that, she didn't actually shapeshift, but in the eyes of others, she shapeshifted into, like, their loved ones and stuff. Really weird stuff. And there's a lot that is going to be figured out from this movie, and obviously the second movie that they're going to come out with. There are things that you don't find out yet in this movie where things are leading up to. You don't really find out who she is or what her real agenda is. You know what I mean? And same with the guy that's with her. But yeah, so Give me a second here. I'm reading through some of my notes. And again, you know, what's funny is, and I'm going to say this, and you could choose any form of symbolism. You could choose, I don't know, uh, kitty cats. You could use dogs and kittens, puppies and kittens, right? To have as wallpaper, but when she comes into her room, obviously they have the butterfly symbolism, you know, on her wallpaper, you know, and then you have these cardinals in her room spinning that kind of overshadow the butterflies. And I think that has a lot to do with the Catholic involvement in mind control, because Kathy O'Brien talked about how her uncle, who was a Jesuit, all right, who was a pilot, would fly blackmail tapes to the Vatican to be housed in this library that they have beneath the Vatican archives. There are blackmail tapes down there in those archives. That's a big reason why they don't let people down there, is because there's some nasty, nasty stuff down there. Okay? Evil, evil, evil stuff is housed down there. And so I know that the Catholics, and especially the Jesuits, per Kathy O'Brien's testimony, are involved in mind control. So that cardinal butterfly symbolism that you see in her room, very interesting, to say the least. And they also, I think, are trying to cover their butts by making victims of like satanic ritual abuse look like they don't remember correctly. Like you could clearly tell, if you didn't know that this was an alien movie, that this woman had been traumatized, you know, possibly even, you know, inappropriately traumatized, we'll say, okay. But if you didn't know it was an alien movie, you would think that, like, wow, there's some really evil people that did some horrible stuff to her, right? But you know, they want to make it seem like, oh, she didn't know it was aliens. Oh, it's okay because it's aliens, right? Just because it's aliens, it's okay that kids get abducted and all that stuff. That is so evil and straight out of the pits of hell, that they'll make it look like these victims don't remember correctly, and that their handlers are these good guys all along, right? That's kind of how this movie kind of portrayed it to me. Like, this girl had a handler, and they want to make it seem like the handlers are the good guys all along. And this is kind of portrayed clearly in the scene where she's in her room having a panic attack, in her childhood bedroom, having a panic attack about her past trauma. And then obviously then you see this Snow White aspect take place, where her room opens up, and these animals, who are actually aliens, come into her room, and it's the Snow White aspect where all these animals come to her, you know. And I know people where they use Disney videos to program these children, and Snow White is one of those ones where, you know, where they use them to program young girls. And so to have that, there's this definite mind control aspect. And I think, again, Steven Spielberg has involvement in mind control, okay, in abuse, all right, per Isaac Cappy. Isaac Cappy exposed, you know, Steven Spielberg and said he was a pedophile. All right. Michaela Spielberg, I think is her name, you know, talked about the people that surrounded her were pedophiles, you know, and she went on to do things that were quite sad, I think, you know, that normally people who are traumatized do. All right. And it breaks my heart. It really does. But that's, you know, where I think all of it's going. And give me a second here. So there's that Snow White aspect, which is obviously, you know, mind control, MK Ultra type programming. And I can't believe, you know, these people, they're so sick. They're so sick that they would put children in such a vulnerable state in any movie. Like, you know, like even that TV show Dexter, like I never could watch it because the beginning episode, they had the kids being traumatized by the violent death of their very own parents in front of them. And I feel like when you have children that are being put into adult situations that are violent, it should be just as illegal as child abusive material. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if you can raise your hand to that, but I believe that wholeheartedly, that any movie portraying any child in any violent form should be, just as illegal as portraying that child in a inappropriate form. Okay? So that's my take. So I can't get into that sort of stuff. But for them to even just put the children like that in this movie, and you see the fear on their eyes, and then they kind of make it out like, oh yeah, they're okay with it eventually. There are victims that go on to be okay with their victimization. There are victims that end up being abusers themselves because that's all they ever knew. Because it's all they ever knew. And, going back to the cardinal idea here, because obviously the shadow of this over her eye is a cardinal, there's that Catholic theme that we talked about. But they're also in the esoteric, they're supposed to be messengers. All right. And so if the cardinal's an alien and is a messenger, you see, a messenger to mankind, right? Okay, you see it? All right. And they can also represent the fire and the phoenix, because again, you have those feathers coming off the back of the head, and when you have a phoenix, that's a big trait of a phoenix, is the feathers coming off the back of the head. For the Catholics, it can be a mitre, but with the people in the cult, it can be a phoenix. All right, and they were named after their mitre. And look, and the red color on them. So let me go through my notes here a little bit more. So again, like when they take these kids and experiment on them in the movie, you can definitely see it's their left eye. It's always their left eye, not your left eye, not what you perceive to be their left eye, but their left eye that the experiment is being done over. And the biggest thing I have to say about this is that, and this is a big spoiler, okay, but the point in which the disclosure actually takes place in the movie is during World War III. So in the movie, while disclosure is taking place, World War III is reaching its peak. And I truly believe that in the second movie, they're going to call for peace. I really do. I really believe that. Hold on a second. I got to look something up here. All right. So hold on. So I want to remind people. Hold on. Dang it. Goodness gracious. Trying to pull up an image here. Really struggling. I want to remind people that Aleister Crowley, in a quote from him, says, today they call them angels and demons, and tomorrow they will call them something else. And this entity that you see to the left of Aleister Crowley is this entity known as Lamb. There was also one called Ewas, E-W-A-S, Ewas and Lamb. But Aleister Crowley drew this, that this is what this entity looked like that approached him, this channeled spirit, he said. And I believe it was in the pyramid during his honeymoon when he channeled this spirit. He was allowed to stay in the Egyptian pyramids. And it was in that place where he channeled this thing, and that it appeared to him like this. And it has a striking resemblance to aliens. And Aleister Crowley said they call them angels and demons today, but tomorrow they're going to call them something else. And I truly believe that they're getting ready to do something big when it comes to disclosure, because anytime you have warfare brewing, they're going to come out with movies about war. Anytime you have, times of crisis coming, they come out with propaganda to combat that. I really truly believe we're getting close to something big. I've already told you I believe that we're in the very first phases of World War III. All right, the stuff that's happening in the Middle East. I've already shown you why I believe that with the Albert Pike letter. But if they believe, and just going by what they say that they're going to do in this movie, if they believe that they're going to bring about disclosure to halt World War III in its tracks when it's at its peak before mass violence, they need that chaos to bring forth their order web KO. We might actually be going home a lot sooner than what we thought. When God says, Jesus says he's coming soon, he's coming sooner than soon. But I'm one of those people, I plan for as if I'm going to be here a few more years, because I think I don't even give us 10 years. But what I'm saying is that I'm one of those people that I look at both sides of the coin, because I want to be a good steward, and I want to be somebody who is patient in waiting for the Lord, also working and laboring in the field and trying to bring people closer to Jesus. But this sort of movie is a heavy duty propaganda piece that I think that is going to cause a lot of problems. And we as Christians have better get the answers, and get the answers quickly. I know that I'm ready to combat what is going to come of this, because they just released this movie today. Just today. It's in the movie theaters today. All right. But the coming weeks, there's a lot of questions that are going to be raised. They put a lot of propaganda in this, and a lot of people are going to go see this thing. And so, be prepared, be ready to give an account. Be ready to tell people about Jesus, and to have the answers to say and combat the lies in this movie, where they're trying to almost disprove that aliens are demons by just saying demons have been aliens all along. I know I have another note here, and I'm trying to find it. Could have sworn I had another page on here. Goodness, this is wild, man. Hold on, give me a second. I had I know I had another bit of information in here. Yeah, I guess I don't. Oh, so they are obviously trying to use the alien agenda to crush Christianity. They're trying. They're giving it their best effort to use the alien agenda to crush Christianity, not just when we're gone, when the rapture happens, but also while we're here, I believe. They're already working on it. And they want to use some new truth. But Christianity wants to expose the alien agenda for what it actually is, which are demons, which is an age-old lie. So it's we're combating new truth, new lies, okay? Their lies, what they perceive as truth, with the truth that these things are demonic from old times. And so I believe the whole alien, what's that show about aliens, and Ancient Aliens? It's the stuff like Ancient Aliens plays into movies like this. I truly believe. And so I just feel like people, I'm not telling people to go watch this, but honestly, you should, because you need to be ready to come against the lies that are in this movie. That's why I watched it, because, you know, as it unfolds, as questions unfold, as things come out, I want to be able to stand up for Jesus, because Jesus stood on the cross for me. So with that being said, that's the end of today's video, and I hope that you all have a great day. May God bless you all. May he keep you. And please don't forget to go out and change this world in which you live.